I get accused of being the master of killer doll movies.
I do. And I'm tired of pretending it's not.
Horror.
It is subjective, Murray. Isn't that what they say?
Alright, this is gonna be the hard one. This is gonna be the hard one. I thought the FNAF video was gonna be hard, but ooh, this one. A lot more people like this one. Per usual, at the start of all my horror analyses, I say, if you like this movie, you are entitled to your own opinion. You are correct, in fact. I think if you like this movie, there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's a fine movie. It's just, again, this is a video critique and analysis and kind of an opinion. It's an essay, if you will. So I own the digital copy of this movie, both versions. I bought the unrated and PG-13 version. I bought the steelbook for this movie, and I own the poster for this movie. So I was a fan of this movie. So hear me out. So this video is very hard for me to make because after doing this immediately after my Five Nights at Freddy's video, it can come apparently clear that some people are gonna say, I don't think this guy likes Blumhouse or James Wan, which is entirely untrue. Saw X was one of my top 3 movies of horror of last year. It was in my top 10 of horror. I love James Wan. His movies are immaculate, and they are very much better than the Sydney Sweeney film Immaculate. If you want a video on that movie, I'm willing. I don't get why people like it, but I'm willing to express my opinion. But that is not what we're here to talk about today. Also, Blumhouse is amazing. I adore Blumhouse and so many of the films they make. It's just, recently, a lot has gone on with them, and I really do think this movie is to blame. But of course, you have to hear me out. In my FNAF video, I had stated that the FNAF movie was something along the lines of a TikTok movie, meaning you find clips of it on TikTok, go watch a few minutes of it, go back to the creator, watch a couple more seconds, and you forget about the movie. Kind of like those Netflix movies or Amazon Prime movies that pop in, and you're like, oh, I wonder what this is about. Then you watch the TikTok, and then you're like, oh, anyway, I'm gonna go about my life. This is a Subway Surfer movie. This is one of those, like, man, this shit boring as hell. And there's, like, Family Guy playing. That's how I associate this movie. A lot of the people that I have communicated with, a lot of the people who I have asked questions about, including you guys, I asked, what do you guys think about M3gan? Right? What do you guys think about it? So, let me see. I liked it. It's just... Do you mind out there? Do you mind? Nice big hog you have. Anyway. Do you guys like M3gan? Yes. I have mixed feelings about M3gan. I like it, but also at the same time I hate it. I like it a little. I like it. It's just corny. May I rephrase? Yes, I like M3gan, although I've only seen the trailers. I have never seen the movie. M3gan was very, very corny. It goes up in the top as one of the worst horror movies I've ever seen. I wouldn't say that. I've seen a lot of dumb horror movies. But I can feel the understanding of saying that. M3gan is a drama. For the first 40 minutes, or at least up until M3gan is introduced, the film is about, like, a woman who just lost her sister and a child who just lost their mother, and these two have to find a way to cope and be with each other and make things work between each other. And I think that's something that both James Wan and Blumhouse do really well. Their character dynamics as well as their introductions and payoffs work really well. and in Halloween, Five Nights at Freddy's, M3gan, Black Phone, so on and so forth. Even in Night Swim, I felt the dynamic of the people more than the actual scares. Which is why when I ask people, what do you think of the horror movie M3gan, they think about that TikTok dance that started trending. Which is not necessarily something you want for a horror movie. You don't want to associate M3gan, the super serious horror icon, with something to the likes of Wednesday, the kooky, quirky Addams Family show, you know? And as I stated before, it's perfectly fine if you like this movie. This movie is the perfect starter horror movie for people. I could see teens and kids alike coming together to watch this or FNAF. It just feels to me that once this movie started trending due to its, well, you know, like, you know, how am I supposed to take that seriously? But like I said in the beginning of my little goofy joke, horror is subjective. I think horror is an art as much as it is a medium. Like, anything could be horror, but horror can be anything, but anything can't be horror. So I do consider this a horror movie, or a thriller, or, you know, it's just not the levels of, I guess, an elevated horror film, or a super gory slasher horror film. And I will say that unrated cut does get pretty violent. It's just this movie wasn't intended to be rated R, especially after the TikToks of that surfaced. But again, like I stated, this film is fun. There's a lot of fun aspects to it, and there's a lot of goofy and quirky aspects to this. But I think something that I personally just don't really care for is that at the beginning, it starts off really strong. And I care for the characters, and I'm like, wow, this is so, like, this is traumatic, you know, this poor kid is going through so much, and this aunt has no idea how to take care of this kid, and it works really well. But I feel like the moment that M3gan comes on screen, the film comes to a halt, and it tries to explain things like, oh yeah, you know, M3gan is Ultron, and she got one glimpse at the reality of the world and was like, you know, humanity should fall. Like, I can't believe we got an Age of Ultron sequel before GTA 6. It's insane. You're also probably wondering why there aren't as many clips in this one. There will be, eventually. It's just my FNAF video is blocked in several countries, and I don't really want this to keep happening, so bear with me. The Blumhouse thing, alright. When this movie came out, it broke records, alright? It did extremely well. I think it's the biggest opening for a movie at the start of a year. I think that's the best way I could word it. It is the first film of 2023, and it made a lot of money. It did extremely well, and I think TikTok was a big contribution to that. And the film being PG-13, of course, and not releasing on Peacock as well, there were a lot of contributions to this movie succeeding. But I don't think Blumhouse was able to find its footing again after this movie. Once this movie started trending, and once this movie started going viral, every film to come out after that has seemingly been a flop. Blumhouse, the people that brought you Oculus, Insidious, Sinister, The Purge, Paranormal Activity, Whiplash, Ouija, Creep and Creep 2, The Visit, and like Halloween, and Split, Get Out, Happy Death Day, Unfriended, Upgrade, Black Klansman, like so many films, right? So many. They even, you know, they did a lot. And since then, the biggest films that Blumhouse have done since then have been The Exorcist Believer. Alright, these are films after M3gan. After M3gan, we've had There's Something Wrong with the Children, Unseen, Insidious the Red Door, The Passenger, Totally Killer, Exorcist Believer, Five Nights at Freddy's, Night Swim, Imaginary, And upcoming, we have Speak No Evil, Wolfman, M3gan 2.0, Black Phone 2, and Five Nights at Freddy's 2. And a lot of those people a lot of people, myself included, like Insidious the Red Door, Totally Killer. I do like Five Nights at Freddy's. But other films, such as Five Nights at Freddy's, The Exorcist Believer, Night Swim, Imaginary, they all, like, made money, but, like, people didn't like them. And I think an issue is they're all over. You know, I feel like people just aren't speaking to these films as much as they'd hoped they would. And that's nothing on Blumhouse. It's just, ever since M3gan, there just seems to be an ideal with this company that will get more money if they're kid-friendly. And their biggest horror films are like Black Phone, one of their most, like, wow, what a good movie, including me. I love Black Phone. It was a better Five Nights at Freddy's movie. You know, Black Phone is a severe, like, hard rating. It is like an R rating. It's about, like, dead kids and stuff like that. Halloween is a slasher film that's completely gory. I myself am a fan of Halloween, Halloween Kills, and Ends, because I do like stupid movies, but that does not mean, like, a film needs to just give up halfway through. And what I mean by that is I feel like Blumhouse lately has been kind of leaving things open-ended in all of their movies, sometimes just ending the movie, like, unexpectedly to set up a sequel. Five Nights at Freddy's has a good ending because we know the games and we know the lore and we understand how these characters are going to go back to the pizzeria, and together we are FNAF. Exorcist Believer is the first film of a trilogy. And that film, like, I haven't seen it yet, but it tanked. Nobody really cared for it. This film sets up a sequel, you know, it sets up, like, what did that guy put in the files? Who's he gonna send that to? How many M3gans are out there? M3gans inside the Wi-Fi at the house? Five Nights at Freddy's is gonna be one of 3 films. M3gan 2 is already on the way, and Black Phone 2 doesn't even need to exist, but I guess, you know, let's do it. That's just my personal opinion. Okay, I liked Insidious Red Door. I loved Five Nights at Freddy's, but if you watch my last video, you'll get my real opinion on that. I do love so many Blumhouse films, because I do really think Blumhouse is up there with Neon, A24, or even Searchlight now. I just really think they aren't putting forth so much effort currently. And I feel like they're trying to create films for a new demographic. And that demographic is kids, teens, people that will post stuff on TikTok and be like, oh my god, I want to see this movie. And then, you know, when you get one of those A24 fanboys that are like,
this doesn't feel like Hereditary to me. I'm gonna have to go back to my Letterboxd account and tell people what I truly think about M3gan.
You know, there's only so much you can do as a company. You can't please everyone. And we went into this so much in my last analysis with FNAF. Do I think M3gan is a masterpiece? No. Do I think that recent Blumhouse films have been great? No. Do I like the Conjuring series? Not really. But I want to. And I think as a fan of horror I'm a person, like I said, horror is an art. And, like, I'm looking at this Blumhouse list and I'm like, dude, all the originality, all, like, the prestige, like, it's insane what we do with horror. And, like, M3gan is just another killer doll movie, as James Wan literally said himself. Hell, do you want to know what Chucky said about it? Overall, I just think M3gan is it's a forgettable horror movie, and that sucks because, like, when I watched it originally, back in 2023, I gave it a 5 out of 10 on my Letterboxd account. And when I was watching it today with buddies of mine who did not change my opinion at all. In fact, it was their first time seeing it, so it was really me trying to convince them, like, hey, I want you guys to be honest about this film because, like, I'm doing an essay on it, and I have no idea what to say about it. First 20 minutes, like I said, before M3gan shows up, they were like, dude, this movie's, like, it's funny, it's fun, like, I feel for these characters. But the moment M3gan shows up, the main character, bless this actress's heart, I have nothing against this actress, but Katie is like, dude, you're an animal, like a literal monster. She becomes like the daughter in Brothers, where she's like, I wish you died in the war, I hate you, mommy's been sleeping with your brother, go have a schizo episode in the kitchen. Like, it goes so out of nowhere to the point where, like, when Katie slaps Gemma, my friends looked up from their phones because the movie was boring them, and they said, what the hell just happened? And then Katie's like, I'm sorry, you know, dog, you're trying. She's got, like, a cigarette in her hand. She's like, dog, you're trying, you know, my parents got hit by a truck, you know, and I was in the back seat. I shouldn't have lived. On God, on my mama, rest in peace. But, you know, I really want to see M3gan. You know, I want to see M3gan. Can she do the dance from TikTok? I want to see M3gan. And then the next scene, they're, like, in the car going home because Gemma convinced Katie, like, you know, I'm your mother now. She full on was like, look at me. I'm the mother now. And it just goes from there. I think the kills in this movie are fun. What was with the boy that was, like, going after M3gan in the park? You know, the boy that she like, yanks at his ear a bit. What was that about? What was with him, like, placing her down, taking her shoe off, and, like, messing with her? Like, why was that, you know, like, a buddy of mine, my friend, said, this is a stupid idea for a toy. And I was like, well, yeah, of course, but why do you think that? He goes, because kids would not want this, for one. Two, it'd be the wrong demographic of people would want this. He's like, you know who would want this? Weirdos and gross people. And I was like, yeah, that's unfortunate. That's a harsh thought to think about. Then I went on YouTube and looked up clips from this video. And of course, like, I in all complete honesty, the people that would be a demographic for the M3gan doll in the reality that we live in, it'd be those kinds of people. You know what I'm talking about. The people that, like, South Park made fun of in the Warcraft episode. Besides the point, I think this film has a good first 20 minutes and a good last 20 minutes. Everything in between that is kind of it's forgetful. I'm starting to come to terms with how that may be, in some films, I feel like that is an issue that not necessarily Blumhouse and not necessarily James Wan, but I think of, like, Insidious. Insidious has a lot of good, intricate moments. It's good place, good jump scares, but at the end of the day, it's an okay movie. Or, not to name a few, Malignant has a good opening and a good ending, but everything in between is just straight up, what am I watching? What's happening? The Conjuring movies are all like that. It's not James Wan's fault. In fact, I like Dead Silence, I like Insidious Red Door, I like Saw X, you know, like, it is not his problem. It is kind of just, what is this? Sorry. Duh. Where was I? Yeah, I just feel like this movie, from the first 30 minutes of it being a family drama to the last 30 minutes of it being you know, a horror movie. There's just so much placed in here that there doesn't need to be. And I don't blame the film. I just, like, it's all over the place. I feel like this movie had an idea, and they're like, okay. It's like the little CEO guy in this movie. He's like, okay, killer doll movie. Alright, we're doing another one. What should we do with it? This one is an AI intelligence. Ooh, we haven't done that before. Alright, we need something that'll get weirdos in the seats. Go. It's a horror movie. Okay. Weirdos. What else happens in this movie? There's a killer doll. Okay, but what about the doll is a killer? Have you seen Age of Ultron? At the end of the day, it's a corny movie. It's a fun movie. I don't blame Blumhouse. I don't blame James Wan. I don't blame any makers of this movie, because at the end of the day, you made a movie. I didn't. I just don't know why this film is so popular. I don't get why people watch this movie and go, yeah, this is amazing. It's funny. Like, there are some really funny moments in it. I don't think there's any creepy moments in it. I think there's just silly, campy moments. Like, if you told me that Sam Raimi made a PG-13 horror movie, I would have said, yeah, he did, and I'm watching it right now. And that's not a bad thing, alright? It's not. It really isn't a bad thing. It's just when people come out of this movie and they say, I really liked it, I'm like, I'm happy. Good for you. What'd you like about it? They go, it was scary. Oh, yeah. You know, sure, yeah. Everyone gets scared by their own things. What scared you about it? But hey, it's your opinion. It's my opinion. This movie has cool parts. It has a robo fight, and it's awesome. Chekhov's Bruce was perfect. I just, like, I'm looking at this list of Blumhouse movies, and I'm like, M3gan was the start of something. And it's not a bad thing. It's just, it's not a good thing. I don't want to be witnessing the downfall of Blumhouse movies. I want Blumhouse to get the recognition it deserves. I want M3gan 2 to be phenomenal. You know, I'm so excited to see how M3gan takes a hold of household appliances. You know, think of a scarier, no, think of a movie that's somehow not as scary as a Brave Little Toaster. After this movie, I made my friends watch Barbarian, which, if you want me to do a video on that, let me know. One day I will. And they said, for the entire movie, yeah, that was better than M3gan. Like, wow, this is scarier than M3gan. This is funnier than M3gan. This is more suspenseful than M3gan. I'm like, dude, lay off, you know, you. But it's my honesty, you know. I love Blumhouse, and I want to see him succeed. It's just, I don't get the praise of this movie, especially since this movie, I feel like, only grew the way it did because of TikTok. To the point where DreamWorks made an edit of the wolf from Puss in Boots 2 doing the dance, you know? And she appeared in an episode of Chucky recently. So, yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Check out M3gan. You could find it on your nearest Subway Surfer TikTok. And, yeah, let me know what you think down below. Let me know also down below what my next horror essay should be. I love doing these, and I'm glad I can make something out of this. Alright. Yeah.